Hi everyone. In this video I'm going to show how to create a custom NFT smart contract using the Studio 721 contract tool. So if you watched the previous video on ArtKit, we ended by uploading to IPFS and we got this URL, and we're going to use this directly in the contract tool. So I went ahead and copied this to my clipboard. Let me go and load up the contract tool here. So this is a tool for building your own custom contract. There are a lot of configuration options that you can use. And once it's all configured, you can compile it and then deploy it on the network you're connected to. So I'm connected to Rinkeby here, and so it will deploy to Rinkeby. So I want to walk through some of the common configuration options. Most of the common options are up here in this card interface at the top. So let me show you how I would configure it for this colorful shapes collection that I just created. So I'm going to call this colorful shapes. And then the abbreviation isn't really used for NFTs, but I'll still make one. I happen to know there are 200 of these, and I'll price them at 0.02 Ether each. Then for royalties, I'll put it 10%. So this means I get 10% of every secondary sale on marketplaces. Now, interestingly, OpenSea doesn't actually support the ERC 2981 or royalty protocol, and so I have to separately add that on OpenSea through their user interface on their website. You can add it through this contract URI option, but honestly, it's easier to just do it through their interface. And then lastly, I'm going to paste this IPFS URL that I had copied into this token URI box. And I see my colorful shape up here. Now I can preview the metadata for my colorful shape and also the image. So I can see this is the IPFS URL that got fetched. This is the HTTPS version, because I actually have to download the HTTPS version because the browser can't natively show the IPFS version. And then here's the metadata. So we can see it's loading that index HTML page I set up in ArtKit and the thumbnail 0 PNG. I can preview different tokens, just hitting the up arrow key or typing a number, make sure they all look okay. And then when I'm happy with it, I can configure the minting options. So honestly, most of the time, you don't even necessarily need to go down here to minting options. But if you want to get more advanced or have a slightly more complex contract that supports more features, you can check these out. So one of the most noteworthy ones is this reduced deployment costs option. So this uses a technique called delegation, where instead of deploying all of the libraries, all of the source code that this contract relies on, it reuses a copy that's already on the blockchain. So that saves you money because it means you deploy less code. It does change your contract quite a bit. So it turns into like a proxy pattern, and I think the base contract is upgradable. So if you care about those things, you might want to check out what's happening behind the scenes. But if you just want to save some money, I think there's a pretty good option to go with. So just check reduce deployment costs. You can enable minting more than one NFT at once. You can have a limit per wallet to reduce botting. Won't stop it. People can still make multiple wallets, but it helps a little. You can have people have to pass the ID of the token they want to mint. So this would probably require a custom minting interface, but you could let people, for example, mint number 10 or number 85 or whatever. You can require another NFT or a fungible token, an ERC20 token for people to mint. They have to own that before they can mint this NFT. You can make it so that only you as the owner of the contract can mint. So if you don't want collectors to mint, but you want to mint and sort of have this growing collection that you mint yourself and then sell yourself on secondary markets, you can do that. So you'd probably turn on only the owner can mint. And then if you have all your NFTs ready in advance, you can still use this token URI. You can also be able to set token URIs individually. So if you sort of want to mint as you go, adding a couple NFTs at a time, you can set URIs for each token by its ID, either before or after you mint that token. You can also enable the Enumerable Extension. This has gotten less popular lately due to the increased costs for minting and trading, but it can still be useful, especially if you're making a quick prototype or if you're not on Ethereum mainnet where costs aren't quite so high. If you don't want to use enumerable, but you still want that functionality, I recommend making a subgraph using the graph because you can sort of get the same enumerable capabilities, but through off-chain indexing. Minting starts active, so this can start the sale right when you deploy. Normally, it starts inactive, so you have to manually start the sale whenever you're ready. But especially on the test networks like Rinkeby, if you're just testing and you want to test some deploys, this is a convenient option. The approval proxy, this is an OpenSea specific thing that is supposed to enable gasless listings for sales. I honestly haven't used OpenSea that much, and I don't totally understand how their code works for this. I just used the code they gave, so I couldn't totally tell you how this works or what exactly it does. But you know, you're welcome to try it out. Definitely, for anything in this contract, I definitely recommend testing it thoroughly on the test networks. I've tested everything, but there are almost certainly still bugs. People do still report bugs, and I try to fix them. So, you know, test your own contracts, please, because once it's deployed, I can't fix it. That's just how it is. And then there are a couple other options. These don't affect minting necessarily. Token parameters, not super common, more of an advanced thing. But if you want to add, you know, maybe like a custom color that somebody can set when they mint. So like a collector can set a color when they mint. That color will be added into the metadata URI here in token URI if you add parameters. So this variable parameters will then add in a query parameter. But I'll get rid of that. Not super common, so if you don't know what that would be for, that's fine. You can add another recipient or multiple recipients to receive the money from primary and secondary sales. So I could say, like, I want to split a 30% share to this address. In this case, both of these are going to be me, so you know, it doesn't make sense, but you can do that. You can also add addresses that are able to mint even when the sale is not started. So if I want to make some test mints myself as the contract owner, I can mint 3 before the sale is started. I could also add other addresses and, you know, they can mint 1 each or whatever. This is not how you, like, not the feature that you would use or not how you'd implement it if you want to have a like airdrop of 1,000 or, you know, like 1,000 people are listed to receive things or to be able to mint things. You would use a Merkle tree. It's a different approach. I want to add that in at some point, but it adds some complexity. And also there's no way right now to make it free to mint these. You still pay for them. And then lastly, your Etherscan Api Key. This is useful for verifying your contracts. I recommend setting this up before you deploy, just so you can do everything sort of in one go. So, you know, go to etherscan.io and set up your API key and then paste it in this box. Now, once you've configured everything, you probably don't want to go through that work again. All of the data that you have created or that you've configured is actually stored in your URL here. So if I refresh the page, I get my exact same contract back. Well, the preview token, the number that was being previewed changed, but all the other data stays the same. So you can even share that link. If you run into issues and you need to share it for debugging, you can do that or whatever. And someone else could load it up. They'll get the exact same contract link. So this is sort of how you can save your progress. If you're working on a contract, I recommend just saving this link into, you know, a notepad or whatever, and then you can paste it back in later. When you're all ready to go, I'm going to turn on minting starts active. You can go ahead and hit compile. This downloads libraries that your contract needs. And then you can optionally download some stuff. So you can download the Solidity files that were used, the compiler input. This can be useful for manually verifying your contract in Etherscan, the compiler output, and the ABI. This is if you want to have a custom minting interface on your website, you'll need your ABI. I'm going to go ahead and deploy on Rinkeby now. So I'll confirm that. This usually takes between 30 seconds and a minute, so not too long, but I'll probably skip ahead for the video. All right, we're all deployed now. I can click this link to Etherscan and see my contract. Now, we can't see my source code yet because I haven't verified the contract. So the easiest way to verify is if you had set up your Etherscan API key, you can go ahead and click verify here. But I'm going to show you an alternate way to do it manually because honestly, sometimes Etherscan goes down too often, and so you do need to end up verifying it manually. There are several reasons why the automatic version won't work. Sometimes Etherscan API is just down, sometimes Etherscan has stopped indexing, so it doesn't pick up your contract right away. So you'll go to this web page here. You'll see that this contract address exists, sort of, but you won't see the actual contract. So it's sort of in this limbo, and in that case, you just have to wait. But okay, so let's say you deployed, but you click verify and it just takes, more than 30 seconds. It might be stuck. Give it a couple minutes, but if it's stuck, you can download your standard compiler input here. Just save it as input.json. And then you can go to Etherscan under contract, verify and publish, and you can select the compiler type. So we're going to go with the standard JSON input. The compiler version, we're using 0.89. You can see that if we go look at the contract file here. It's in the pragma at the top. And then the license, MIT. So we will agree to the terms of service and continue. And then choose our file here in downloads. Then we have to click here to upload the file. Then when it's all uploaded, I'm not a robot, and verify and publish. Great. So our contract was successfully verified. So if we go back to the contract address, we now see our contract source code, just as it was in the Studio 721 contract tool. Of course, most of the time you won't need to do this. You can just hit verify. It takes 15 seconds and you're done. But in the off chance that you do need to do that, now you know how. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover in this video. In the next video, we will look at how to create a minting interface for this custom contract we just deployed.